Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. Today, I have an international rock star, artist, drummer. She's like, that's not on my resume yet. But this woman is absolutely unbelievable. You will not believe her talents, her story. So, number one, share this out, please. Share it out immediately. And number two, stay with us. You get to meet Patricia Gagic here in just a minute. See you guys. And we're back. Let me bring Patricia on. Patricia, welcome to the show.
Hey,
So good to have you here.
happy to be here.
I'm, I, I, I don't know how long we've been friends now, probably at least a couple of years on Facebook. And I see you doing all of these international rock star things that are like, wow, she just won an award in this part of the world, and you're amazing, and I can't wait to hear your story. So why don't you start with telling everybody where you were born and raised?
Just by virtue, first of all, thank you, Ken, for inviting me to be on the show. I'm pretty thrilled. I love talking to you, and so I'm excited. Montreal, Quebec. My parents happened to be there at that time, and that's where I was born. I lived there for probably until I was about 3. My dad was a comptroller for a hotel chain, and so we were literally transferred to different places. So I lived in Omaha, Nebraska, where I went to school for a couple of years, London, Toronto, out west. I've been out west in Canada. So I've been living in different places, but that was probably a blessing because I think I had, as a young person, a lot of experiences other children might not have had if they were just living in their one domain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Facebook user says 2 rock stars. That's nice. Whoever you are, that's so nice. So where did you end up, like, graduating from high school?
So yeah, this is I ended up back in Hamilton, Ontario. My
Okay.
my mom and dad, because they had been traveling and living in different places, her parents were not well, and she literally hadn't
Mm,
spent very much time throughout her life with them. So we came back to Hamilton, and I was actually grade 7 and grade 8, did my high school, and then sort of life went on from there. So
wow.
yeah.
So did you go to, and I know in Canada they don't call it college, it's university?
So we have both. So we do have colleges and we do have university, but I think when I was born, I literally was born an adult. I fought in my baby in the crib, screaming and yelling, I want to move my arms. I want to talk. I want to get going with life. And so by the time I finished high school, I had a few little odd things happen in my life in between. I wanted to work. I was, my parents were not really, in a position to pay for university. And I didn't
Mm,
really know what I wanted to do. I knew I'd always be an artist. That was
yeah.
always a given. But I wanted a real job. So I had 3 jobs. I worked when I was about 14, 15. I worked for burger chef. So I was doing that part time. Then I loved fashion and art. So I had a job in a bridal salon after school and on Saturdays. And I would be the person who would take the gowns out of the bag, and then the brides would come in and try them on, and then they weren't happy with that. And I would
Yeah.
So I would have to put the bags back in. But through that time, I always felt like there was this calling for business. And my dad was, as I said, a comptroller.
Yeah.
So I walked into a bank one day and I went, oh my God, I want to be a bank manager. Literally, I think I was like 17 years old. And so from there, I got a job. So we had grade 13. So after grade 13, rather than go to university, I went straight in full time, became a teller at a bank. And every day I would try and get in early, and I would look around and say, I want to know how to do that job. I want to know about this job. And I gradually, over a short period of time, was promoted into different, like the DDA desk. And
Yeah.
we hand wrote the cards for people who, when they came in and they made a deposit or a withdrawal. Can you believe that? That's how
Wow.
way back in the bank, I mean, everything became computerized.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we would take all our cards and we would have to, total them up and balance our till and whatnot. But then, as I was in my sort of reality, I said, women, why are there no women doing some of these jobs? They are, there's no female bank managers. There were very few senior women in positions. Anyways, I got transferred to Toronto, and I really said, this is where I need to be. And I did. I would apply for every job that came up, rising, going through it. And then I think I was one of those girls that had the lucky break where I had a mentor. One of the managers, a gentleman, his name was Bruce. He, I don't know if he said he saw something in me, but he knew I had lots of guts. And he said, why don't you do this thing called the ICB, Institute of Canadian Bankers? Why don't you take some courses? And I started taking courses, but then the opportunity arose for me to take on a senior position. And then I was in Winnipeg at the time, and they came to me and said, I was a loans officer, senior loans officer. And they said, well, would you like to take on a branch? I was 25 years old, and I said, yes. So I became one of the youngest female bank managers in the history of the bank. And
Wow.
and I moved through that branch into another branch. And then eventually I was transferred back to Toronto, and I took on a larger position. And that I had 92 employees. I was 29 years old.
Wow.
And and that was it for me. I was like, do I continue up the ivory tower or not? And there's a point where there were so many other things that I like to do, and I wanted to know. So I really did feel like I had accomplished the one piece of the puzzle, but there was always this nagging, lingering.
Yeah.
What about art? Like, I want to keep doing the art, but artists weren't getting. I sold my ink drawings for $5 and $7 to an art gallery. They paid me, and they wanted my work, but that's how much that. So I'm like, $5 and $7 isn't going to pay my rent. So
No.
yeah, so that led anyways to my making some changes, and then I eventually had an
So
opportunity. Mhm.
before we go any further, you said a few minutes ago that there were some things that occurred in childhood. Here's why I bring this up, because I truly think that that things that happen in our lives, I as children, I think that it kind of pushes us in the direction we end up going as adults. And I'm just curious, like, what are some of the things that come to mind that you think of, like, yeah, as a child, this, because you said art was always a thing. Like, was it as a child too? What were the things that led up to eventually doing what you do?
So this opens up a challenge. I When I was probably 3 years old, so I'll start with the art. My mom had given me pencils, crayons, and I started drawing, and I couldn't stop drawing Elizabethan ball gowns. Like I'd never seen them. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I kept drawing these poofy, big, huge, shoulder padded, big outfits with big skirts. And then out of curiosity, my mom would buy me, it was called Millie the Model. And she was a comic book, Millie the Model. So I would just get right into wanting to do the designs, the dresses. So from the time I was really, really little, I was drawing anything and everything. I loved people's faces. I won a contest at the YWCA. I did a portrait in pencil of Sir Winston Churchill, and I won first prize for that. That was something else that triggered me believing that maybe I had some talent and I wanted to do something.
Wow.
In magazines, they used to have at the very, very back a little tiny column, and if you could draw the silhouette of this man or woman, and she was so beautiful, I would spend hours and hours and hours trying to draw this silhouette. And then one day I had the courage to do it, and I mailed it in. And I mean, this is crazy. And it said that they would decide if you had the potential to be an artist.
Wow.
So I did this little silhouette drawing. I mailed it in, and they wrote back. I mean, this was one of those marketing advertising things to get you to buy a program or go to some school. I don't even remember what it was. But the letter came in the mail, and it said, I had the potential to be an artist. Now, when you think back that there's only there were, 5 or 6 McLean's, Chatelaine, whatever magazines existed way back then. And to get somebody to write and tell you, I thought, oh my God, this could really possibly happen. And of course, that was a seed, I think, that sort of stirred inside of me to believe that.
How old were you?
I think I was 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was 10 at the time. But then I also I have European roots. And so my father, he was I would say he's a little bit of an eccentric man. He was obsessed with everything musical, and he always wanted us to experience things. So, for example, at Easter time, we would jump in the car for a little tour. He would drive us to Mount Rushmore, and he would take us through the Badlands. He would make sure that we experienced seeing things and had a vision that the world was there to experience. And he loved music, so we were constantly being exposed to what he wanted. He loved Miriam Makeba, and she was a South African singer. And for my dad's birthday, I decided that I would play this on the stereo and see if I could memorize her words and sing. And so I did. And then I fell in love with the music, the speaking in Swahili. And I took that on. So that was important. With my parents' roots, they were Russian, Ukrainian, Polish. And so I went to Polish school when I was in grade 7. So I started to learn another language, which then it led me to wanting to sing in a choir. So I went to the Polish church and I sang. I didn't understand any of it, but I would sing at 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and 8:30 mass, and then get to school for 9 o'clock. Only because I wanted to learn how to sing and be prolific at it.
Wow.
But going back to the little things that happen in life. So when I was 10, that's when the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban Missile Crisis, was happening. When we lived in London, Ontario, and of course it was end of September, beginning of October, and all I knew is the world potentially would end. I mean, there were so many things going on. It was frightening because you only had access to radio and TV.
Yeah.
And we were told, the new CBC News with the big, huge screen would tell us that tomorrow the decisions would be made whether or not we would have a nuclear bomb go off. I think in everyone's mind, we had a bomb shelter built into our house. Like, people had these things. There was a cement room. And I remember going downstairs into the basement and getting on my knees and literally praying to God this would not happen, that I didn't want to see people suffer and I didn't want to die. There was no way that this should happen. So I prayed and prayed and prayed. And literally, I think I made a promise that said, if you don't, if everything is good when I wake up in the morning, I promise to be a super good person and I'll do whatever I can on the planet. So I woke
Oh,
up the next morning. We were not bombed, and then I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, now what am I going to do?" Like, I, I,
wow.
I thought I took on the whole world because I had made
Yeah.
this promise to God
Yeah.
at 10 years old.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but but it triggered, a lifetime of servitude, and also understanding, the relationships that you have. They're meaningful,
Yeah.
and you family first. I mean, there's so many parts of your life that you don't realize, things happen.
Wow. So at a very young age, you had the ability to discern that you had made a contract with the Almighty. To-
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. At 10 years old, were you really thinking of alternatives to just being a good person? Like, you know, like I don't know, but so you fast forward back to 29 years old, you are a branch manager, then you moved into an even bigger role within this bank, and you said that you thought, is this it? Do I keep climbing the ivory tower here? What am I going to do? So what happened at that point?
Yeah. So an opportunity came up. CMHC was selling off some properties and buildings, and there was a property that it was designated as a retirement home. And
Mm.
I thought, okay, well, this might be worth investigating. So made the offer and purchased it and renovated it, and then left the bank, started my own property management company, and it spiraled into running the retirement home and then selling it, and then making some conscious decisions. I took over some townhouses, condominiums, and then the medical buildings, and so that was in my sphere, and I loved all of it. But I continually stayed in my headspace of art, where I wanted to be a better artist. And then the lucky break came in 1999, when this was really a lot of fun. My husband kept saying, we need to go to France. We should go to France. And he kept cutting out this little article from the Globe and Mail, and it said sunflower apartment. Well, I was at a gallery on a Saturday morning. I came back that evening, and he said, I've called the guy. He's going to call you, and we're going to go to France. And we're going to stay in the sunflower apartment. And this was in a place called La Bigoud de Mazinc. And so it happened, but I went to meet the gentleman to get the keys and get the layout of the land, because you had to fly from Paris and take the TGV down to Montélimar, and then got a car, and then you had to drive to La Bigoud. And so when I'm in his house, he has this remarkable art collection, 3 floors. I get up, he's showing me everything. His grandfather was the silversmith for Givenchy, and so they had brought back from Europe many incredible pieces of furniture and but this art collection. So I get up to the 3rd floor, and I'm walking, and I see this painting of a white horse, and it's beautiful, but it's very abstract. And I looked at the name of the painting, or the artist, and it said Dragic, which is Dragic, or Serbian. My husband's Serbian. So I said to this person, I said, wow, I said, this is a Serbian artist, Dragic. And he said, no, he's French. His name is Dragic. No, it's not. I said, it's not Dragic. And anyways, long story short, he said he's a very eccentric man. He is one of the top 10 artists in Provençal, and it's about a 3-hour drive from the place that you're going to be. And he lives in this village called Savoyon, which is near Mont Ventoux.
I think my wife has been there, actually. I've heard her talk about this, it seems
That's
like.
where they have the cycle races, the Tour de France.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we get into La Bigoud de Mazinc, and the woman who was there, his wife, said, I said, I want to go and meet this Mr. Dragic. And she said, he doesn't meet people. He doesn't like Americans. He doesn't like people. And I said, no, 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 no. I said, I want to meet him. So you call him. So she called him and he said, no, you're not interested. And then
Wow.
I was like, I don't know how to explain the power of the universe took over. And all I kept saying was, no, I have to meet him. And the next day I said to Ulrika, I said, please call him again and tell him that I'm coming. And she said, well, I will, but I'm getting a bit embarrassed. And I said, no, just phone him and tell him that I have to meet him. And so she did, and he hemmed and hawed, and then finally he said, okay, she can come on Wednesday. I'm going to give her 2 hours, and that's it. And she cannot be late. All right, so what happens? We're in this place, La Baguette de Mizank, and here we go. We have to go all the way up to Mont Ventoux, to the mountain. And to get to Savoyon, you have to cross the mountain. What is there when you get to this particular fork in the road? 2 signs, the fast route and the slow route. Not speaking enough French to be able to figure out what we needed to do, we took the slow route, and of course, we are an hour and a half late. Dying. So we pull up. Mont Ventoux, or Savoyon, is this little unbelievable village, 5th century, all the carvings, they're all like turrets, and it's spectacular. And there, right by the église, the church, on this big, huge rock, is this burly guy with a big, huge beard and long gray hair, Monsieur Dragan Dragic.
Oh, no.
And he's like this, sitting with his arms crossed. I'm like dying. So here I am. I'm pestering him that I have to meet him, and I'm even late to meet him.
Oh, no.
Anyways, he accepted our apologies. He does not speak English. He only spoke Serbian and French. So fortunately, my husband could communicate with him. So we go into his home, and he's, talking to us. And then he said, well, come up now to the atelier, to his studio. So we go up this turret, round stairs, we get to the top. And that's when I think my life changed forever and ever and ever.
And you were 29?
No. So this is 1999.
Oh. Okay. Well,
yeah. So
yeah.
I'm now standing in a room where I'm looking at the posters on the wall from Galerie Colette Dubois, from the galleries in Avignon. His name, it says Dragic, Picasso, Christo. Like he's like in that real world of artists that you only dream of.
Wow.
So our first visit was spectacular. He asked me at the end of this conversation to show him my work, and I did bring some pieces. And then he walked us out to our car, and he said, she doesn't speak enough French for us to communicate. I will give her 1 week. She can come back in 6 months. I will give her literally 1 week to be with me. She has to speak some French.
Oh my God.
I know, Ken.
Holy shebab. Yeah. Wow.
So but for me, the challenge was I will do anything. So I hired a tutor, and I had 32 hours of lessons with her. And then I had the Le Baron books. I had 2 or 3 of them. And
what is it called?
Le Baron, Baron. So those are the books that if you go into the bookstore, you can buy Le Baron books, and they teach you how to write and speak French or any other language.
So my wife speaks fluent French. She studied in France, and and she's on here. She's blown away, by the way. But so you were from Quebec though, or is it Quebec?
I was 3. Like I didn't school. Like I was we were just transplanted there. My dad was in the Canadian Air Force before he, and that ended. He became an accountant, and that was his, job. So we were there because of that. But so I mean, I'm going back to France. I'm now looking at my life, and I'm saying, okay, I have an opportunity to study with this grandmaster who is so brilliant, so genius. And I can't mess this up. So I did all my lessons. We arrive, and I had I brought all my books with me. I probably had 3 or 4 different dictionaries, and I spent 1 week with him every single day. So we stayed at this incredible bergerie, this little farmhouse, and every day at 6 o'clock he would come and he would bring croissants and we would have breakfast together. I would shower and change, and then I would go to his place, to the atelier, and I would work all day. We would have lunch around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, take a break, and then go back and work, and then have dinner at nighttime. I thought I mean, it was so extraordinary. But
Wow.
at the end of that first week, he basically said that he really liked me and that he thought I was teachable. But the deal was this: if I came back, I had to come back with no brain. I know nothing, zero.
Oh,
Whatever I thought I knew, I don't know. And if I could come back with an empty brain, he would teach me. And he also told me to park my ego. Like literally, he said, I don't need you.
wow.
And so if you want to learn, he said, tu es une éponge, you're a sponge. You're going to do it my way. So I went back
Wow.
again, and I went back again, and I went back again, and I went back again, and we became, since 1999, he's my master. I've had an exhibition with him in 2008, 9, I think, in
Wow.
he has, it is the Matisse palette that he taught me in oils, only using Rembrandt paint. And the coolest thing is that he doesn't talk about the colors. Everything is by number. So when you are going to paint, you're going to mix 506 and 513 to create this color. And if you're going to use whatever I had to memorize the entire Rembrandt series so that I would be able to know the combination of the palette. And of course, he had expanded that palette significantly. And so I get so excited talking about it because he's extraordinary.
You're extraordinary. So you are. So I and my wife's talking about things over my head. Carl Brenders or
Carl Renders, yes.
yeah. So let me ask you a question. Gosh, this is like I'm just let me interrupt your journey for a moment and ask you a technical question.
Okay.
What I don't know who this is. Who are you, Facebook user? I'm wondering if that's Glenn.
Oh, oh my God, I love Glenn.
I love Glenn. Ugh, I love Glenn. So when it comes to, because oh, it's Colleen. So when it comes to, how do I ask this? I've always been absolutely blown away and intrigued by art. I love it, love it, love it. I'm a digital artist when it comes to Photoshop and stuff like that. But do you think that this is something that anybody can learn, or do you feel like there has to be some sort of an inborn talent that already exists?
Oh, okay. So we need another 2 hours for this conversation. So my inherent feelings are that as a human, we have so much talent.
Yeah.
We have levels of consciousness that we haven't tapped into. We have limited ourselves by virtue of other people not recognizing that we do have the power to make our own decisions and choices. So I'm going to say door number 1, yes, I'm proving to the world right now. I started this little project called the Karmic Art Experience, where I have invited people to spend literally 3 hours with me with a blank canvas, paints, and I take them through a journey where I've had Olympians, the Olympic female hockey players, swimmers. I've had lawyers, doctors, different people of different genres sit with this process, and I take them, I call it, like, you have to have tabula rasa. I'm going to take you to a blank slate. And then I spent a lot of time studying different psychologies and religions, and maybe in this combination of studying Buddhism, I also studied a lot of mindfulness, and I went to U of T and I completed my certification in applied mindfulness and mindfulness without borders. And I felt that if you could do something without judgment, you can do it. So I take people through a journey, and everyone who has completed it has completed a painting, and it's phenomenal. It is something extraordinary they never expected that they could do. But it's it's like our minds, if they're pushed or melanged, or they're given an opportunity to experience something where literally you are so loved, you are so in a safe place. And I don't even like those words of safe place, but you are in an environment. And I create it with music as well. So there's really sensational music that's playing, all kinds, because I'm really into music.
Yeah.
And so I think I've proven, I don't care what people say, you are talented and you could be an amazing painter. And now I've converted the Karmic Art Experience into something called the Wisdom of Karma. And now I'm going to have 5 different pillars included in the Wisdom of Karma, which will allow people to go through that experience. But I'm going to fine tune it so it's more relatable to more specific things. And art will definitely be one of them. Music will be one of them. Business will be one of them. But I'm a firm believer that, that every single human being can get past the obstacle. And because I've had so many things happen to me in my life that I really shouldn't even either be alive. I mean, we haven't even talked about my horrible stories.
We're going to get there.
Anyways, yes. So long answer for you. Sorry.
No, it's not a long answer. It's a perfect answer. So you, because I came across a book years ago. I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years ago that said, it explained something about how right brain, left brain works. And they said, if you take a portrait or an image and you turn it upside down, and so I was like, and it worked. I actually was able to draw something because I turned it upside down. I forget the reason why. There was a scientific reason why, but it worked. Yeah. So.
Well, one big part of that process, and you're right. So when people say, how do you know your painting is finished? And I always say, because you turn it in every direction and it feels complete.
Wow.
So once you have actually finished what you see, if you turn it, it's got a different perspective to it immediately.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't look like it's finished that way, then I work on it that way. Then I flip it again until I see that no matter what way I flip my painting, I love it, that I feel it's complete. And then going to your other point, funny enough, I don't know why, I picked up this book out of my library this morning at home, and it's called Your Handwriting Can Change Your Life by Vimela Rogers. So, hi, Dennis. So we have this, and Alan, hello.
Alan.
So I always believe that, yes, you're right side, left side. I'm a right-handed person. I have been practicing writing with my left hand because the synapses are actually shifting and getting stronger, and they open up the variables, that give you a different way of feeling. And it's also confidence building. So I started also painting with my left hand, and it strengthens something inside of you.
Yeah.
So that's a really super key point that you've made. 100%.
Yeah. Wow. My wife said in here, her problem is she actually does have, she's unbelievably talented. And I know you well enough to know that you would say, don't say that about yourself.
I'm slapping you.
I love it.
So, but you know, the gauge for people, you're either super, super famous and someone says, this is, I use chopsticks.
Yeah.
That. That, there's this hierarchy in any industry and in the art world, especially. I mean, unless you are, people making 61 million or you're Rothko and you've got work that is being, auctioned off at Christie's or Sotheby's for significant amounts. There's a world with performance levels. The shifts and changes that take place for people sometimes get gauged on I'm not good enough. And my brain has never been in that headspace ever. I just feel like that's my karma. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I want to be a better human being. I want to be a better person. So you take those experiences that you've had, and it's your choice how you want it to, how you want it to end. And I hate saying that it's always there's always going to be good things that happen in your life, and there will be bad things that happen in your life. Life is about choice and change. And yeah,
It is.
yeah.
So talk a little bit about, I mean, in 1999, you met, I can't say all of the French words you said,
Dragan,
Drag,
Dragan Dragic.
yes, him.
Yeah,
And you were married
yeah.
and you spent a week with this other man.
Okay, so Monsieur Dragic is also married. His wife and I are bestie friends.
Oh, okay.
So when I say I spent a week with him, I mean the privilege of being in his atelier,
Oh,
in his studio every
yeah,
single day. And
that's unbelievable.
it truly, it's extraordinary. And when I
Wow.
think about my writing more books, and there will be a book about my relationship with him.
Yeah. Dennis, good
Oh,
night.
you too, Dennis. Take good care.
Yeah, he's
Thank you
amazing.
for your time. I know. Yeah.
So talk about some of the because from I mean you've won all these you're internationally known, you've won these massive awards and recognitions, and but there've been challenges for you, I would imagine, along the way.
I there's so many parts of anyone's day-to-day life. So yes, I did have unfortunate things happen to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I wrote a book called Karmic Alibi, Gaining Expedient Wisdom by Leaving Your Excuses Behind. And it's really a
Mm,
story about different parts of my life where things happened. When I was very young, I was unfortunately, and I don't like to even talk about it, but
mm,
the big R, that
mm,
happened to me, which was extremely scarring.
yeah.
And I was also uh, on a horse in Saskatchewan and the horse took off, decided it just got spooked, and it was a part quarter horse, part Appaloosa, and it took me to the Trans-Canada Highway where I had to make a decision if I was going to be thrown in front of a transport truck and killed,
Ugh,
or if I would have to somehow figure out how to survive. I didn't think I could survive. We'd already gone about 2 or 3 miles at about 35 miles an hour. That's how fast the horse was actually,
wow.
and I knew that I wasn't going to make it. So I had to slide off. I slid off the back of the horse, full gallop at 35, and hit the pavement of the Trans Canada Highway, hit my head. I was unconscious. I rolled into the ditch.
Oh,
And when they found me, I know I was dead. I was dead.
wow.
And within, I don't know what, I can't say how many minutes, I had the most horrific, like lightning bolts going through my head and my body. And I felt like I was underwater drowning. And I came to, and I came to full conscious. Um, I could recall everything that happened. I had no memory loss, but my everything in my life was altered from that minute on. I was 22 years old, and I knew that I had been given an opportunity to live, and so I started. I think that's what was really a big trigger for me to become such an empath, where I was not attached to egoic things. It was never the me first feeling. It was always like, so I would see through something and say, I can feel you. I need to help you. I need to say this to you. So it was like a little wisdom bubble, hit me. And at the same time, I really valued my life in a very different way. But that didn't stop things from happening. So as a bank manager, I was held up at gunpoint a serious couple of times.
Jeez.
Yeah. And again, and that one time, there's the guy comes in, I'm informed that we're being robbed. He's got his hand inside of a paper bag with a gun, and it's pointed right at me. And I have to make a decision if we're giving him money, and knowing that he could pull the trigger anyways. Like we saw him. That was there's like, these are things that happen to you that you say, okay, like how many more things can go wrong? But that wasn't the end of it. So yes, there
Wow.
were other things that transpired, not always to me, but around me, that impacted me. And so you just simply value things. And that again is why I when people say they don't have talent, there's a part of me that I think art is cathartic. I mean, it's therapy as well. And a lot of people do, teach art as a therapy. It
Yeah.
allows you to get into all the different, um, bits and pieces of your life or emotions that are triggered by events, that we hold in our consciousness. But it's also an avenue for discovery of how you can heal yourself and why it makes a difference to express yourself, because words don't always come out of people. Not everybody's a wordsmith or can grasp the vocabulary to be able to describe the emotion that is lying deep within them, or that it can even come out. And by virtue of music and some of the conversation that I have during our process, I help people get to a super, super comfortable, happy place.
Yeah.
And I've and I feel like that's a confidence that, we beat ourselves up. A lot of times people beat us up, or the surroundings, so that you don't have the sensibility to be able to say, I'm still okay, I'm still good. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's it.
I think, there's a Buddhist saying that I absolutely love and really try to stay aware of, and that is pain in life is inevitable, suffering is a choice. And I think that, I talk a lot about that, like, what story are you living in, like, right, like,
Yeah,
because we're constantly telling ourselves a story. And I think, not to use the artist, but I mean, it's like we get to choose what we want to put on our canvas of life.
yeah. Um, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, a lot of people know and read her work, talks about death, the final stages of growth. And I think every day that you are in a position where you can make a better choice for yourself or separate yourself, the cessation of suffering will only happen when you detach from seeing it as suffering, and you would put it into why are you suffering? So you're suffering because you need something from it, or your ego is wounded, or I know abuse is something that a lot of people have experienced, and yes, it is something traumatic. A lot of post-traumatic happens for people, but there's also the particulars of separating yourself from being in that moment. And the more mindful people can be, the greater practice that they have to live each day without judgment,
Yeah.
that again helps the synapses to strengthen and gives you the courage, the stamina to be able to say, what's the electricity in the room look like for me today? And,
Yeah.
and you let it fuel an aspect of what you need to accomplish and feel good about it. Not every day, like yes, you mentioned about I've won unbelievable things, awards, top 100 most powerful women in Canada 4 times, Universal
Crazy.
Women's Network. I won the gold medal at the Louvre, at Salon National Beaux-Arts, first female, first Canadian, like a lot of firsts and things that, but they don't define me. Those are wonderful. They're just wonderful. It feels good. It gives me the confidence to say, okay, but what do I like about it? I like that for the people who are suffering, who don't think they can do what they're supposed to do, or they're not happy with the level of what attention they're getting, get over it. Like, experience the experience. Like, I'm here in my studio, and I've got a whole new life happening here. So I'm starting to drum. Started in September, and I'm an addict. And I know you're a drummer. So
Let's look at that beautiful kit sitting
well,
over there.
yeah. So she's called Lotus,
I
and
love it.
she is a Gretsch renowned kit. And then there are the Sonar SQ1s.
Wow.
Another beautiful, sounding kit. So our collaboration, I'm doing a collaboration with my friend, who since I was 12 years old has been my best friend. And so professional drummer teaching me drumming, and we're doing art together. We're going under a brand called Lotus 97.7. He is Italian, 97.7 Roman Italian. So the Lotus and 97.7.
So let me ask you this. If you were talking to, and I look, I love what Eric Flanoy says. Art is very therapeutic. Any advice to a 50-year-old guitar player looking to break into the business?
As a guitarist, musician, or artist?
Great question. I don't know. I'm that's a great question.
So if it's for musician, I mean, right now I think that YouTubes have given us so much possibility. Every person who's amazing. I mean, I've started drumming, so now I'm addicted to Drumeo, to every conceivable thing there is about drums.
Yeah.
I think as an artist that it's too late. The fact that I wake up every day is the very first day of the chapter I'm writing in my life. So I look for the opportunity. I also believe strongly in no one's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, come on, do this. You have to go and find. So it's your marketplace. If you practice, and this is the other part of my big lessons in life. Oh, artist and musician. Okay. You have to do due diligence. You have to do your homework. You've got to know. I think for Dragan, it's always like you find your soul, but you steal from everybody, because it's a world where if you look at a photograph or you look at a painting, like I have studied for over 20 some odd years with loving the work of many different artists, but Zhao Qi, Chinese French painter. Zhao Qi's work to me it's so beyond magical that the aspects of it, I try and incorporate. I would look and see what kind of brushes does he use? What are the things what are the tools and the colors that are really making me feel like I'm genuinely interested and want to know more? So study and then practice and then just do it. And then even if you think for one split second that you're not good enough, it just means you just got to keep practicing. Not every door will open, but if you're satisfied to be in between the moments when you're doing the actual act of art, the act of playing, like I am a guitar player, I have a piano, and now I'm playing drums. That doesn't happen unless I practice. And I have to feel like the music right now that I'm obsessed with is Pat Metheny's music. So Pat Metheny, I think, is probably the #1 genius guitarist in the entire world. I don't care. And I'm going to say that's my call. But that's right. He's got a 42-string guitar called the Picasso, Pikasso. But there's only yourself to blame if it doesn't happen. You've just wasted a single day. So get your act together, look and seek and find, go seek out like-minded people, read. I'm just going to be that old school person. None of this happened to me if I had not have spent those since 99, studying and doing the work that I did, I wouldn't know what I know now. Yes, Alan. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Pat Metheny. His new album, well, one of his recent albums is Side Eye. And there's a song called Lodger. And I'm doing a series of paintings right now to that particular piece of music. It's
wow.
Yeah.
So you and Eric loves Pat Metheny. So yes. So this is I think it's a rhetorical question, but what do you think, in your opinion? Now, the number one answer to this question, by the way, is fear. I ask every guest this question. So you have to do better than fear.
Oh God.
What holds people back in life from two things? Number one, real financial freedom and real happiness and freedom in life. And I do think I've said this a million times. I think that it's related, because I've been homeless and broke, and I've been wealthy, and homeless and broke sucks.
Yeah.
So what do you think is stopping people from having it all?
So the tagline of my first book, and I want to also give a shout out to somebody, to Craig Duswalt, because I met him like 12 or 13 years ago. I went to his boot camp, and for every day that I sit and I think about what I have going on in my life, it was another one of those pivotal moments, like write a book in 30 days, take on this challenge. But every person who I seem to have connected to through him, including Glenn Morshower, has been part of my life cycle changing. And the words I used for my tagline were gaining expedient wisdom by leaving your excuses behind. And that, I'm not coming up with, freedom or fear is not my currency, blah, blah, blah. Relationships make a difference, but it's this excuse that we seem to seek out. And it's the one that we believe the excuse will validate why it didn't happen, why I can't do it, because she didn't give me this, because I didn't do whatever. They didn't pay for whatever. It's always that excuse. I like to think that if that's an obstacle, there's an alternative. What's the other side of it, and how can I seek that? What do I have to do? Because after experiencing death, I'm sorry, you have the ability to do every conceivable thing that comes into your brain. Absolutely.
I love that answer.
And I'm going to share this is like a little quote thing, but make sure you have finished speaking before your audience has finished listening.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's powerful.
I like thinking that what you've had to say means that I'm also listening. And I think there's too many people that, average sucks. We think too much in our own heads, that we think about what is the next thing that I'm going to say versus what gold, platinum has Ken just given me. Am I a good listener? Do I really hear? Because a lot of people just want to talk. And there's one line that Glenn Morshower, we talked about this not that long ago. He came up with this comment when I was listening to him on one of his calls, and he mentioned the word chronic opinionitis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That's reality. Like, everyone's got an opinion, and that's just, it's better to be a good listener. The wisdom bits that come out of people, take that as the attitude that you need to have when you're listening to people. And whether you like them or not, or you think you are on the same page with them, or they're not rich enough or not poor enough, I don't care. But everybody is our teacher. And you learn so much by humbling yourself to recognize that maybe this just wasn't the moment for you to shine, but maybe that moment will come. But what is it that you want to do that really makes a difference?
So brilliant and so true. I just put out a post this morning about that on Facebook. I think that during the 2 years of pandemics and all of the insanity that ensued from that, I know that globally suicide rates skyrocketed. I mean, skyrocketed. And I think that there are a lot of people even now probably just hanging on by a thread, not knowing. They feel like they've tried everything, done everything, and things just aren't going right for them. What do you say to somebody that if they were to call you and say, Patricia, I've tried everything and it's just not working out? What do you say? Like, how do you help them get to the next moment?
So it's like there's this armamentarium of psychiatry and pills and every conceivable thing that we could reach out for. But I want to believe that silence is a fence around wisdom. And if you can help a person sit in their silence, just simply sitting in their silence with them, the amount of energy that we give off, the vibration that we give off is significant. And again, it's sometimes the words or whatever don't make a difference, but humankind, human beings together, like the war right now that's happening, it's incomprehensible. It flirts with everything inside of us. We're angry. All the emotions are coming out. We're frustrated. And yes, silence is offensive. How do we actually thrive for people? And it is just that showing up. So I don't know that I could say anything to anybody other than I would love them. I would sit with them. I would have the courage to sit in their suffering. And if that's vain, and if I can't make something out of that, transition, I don't also feel that any one person is responsible enough to take ownership of whether or not another person survives, thrives, or not. Again, having some personal experience in my own family, you have to put the mask on yourself first, but then also by virtue of your own actions and by, never giving up, I think it shows another person the strength that you have, but also loving a person and being with them for so long. And I know we've all had relatives that have had addictions and in whatever capacity, whether it's drugs or alcohol, and you've had your own experience.
Yeah.
The fortitude, the things that come to us reveal so much about ourselves. And when you can hold on to, what comes next. And for some people it is a good marriage, or it's a good partnership, or a good employer, or a friend.
Yeah.
It's life-changing. It is life-changing.
Totally agree. I think it was Glenn that said, maybe try getting out of yourself and looking at the people around you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've heard other people say that. Obviously, I talk about it like, you want to get over depression, go help somebody else. Like,
Exactly.
you forget all about why you're depressed. But I think that if I believe it was Glenn that said, who in your life, who loses if you don't win?
Yeah.
And it's like, you look at the beautiful work that you've done and that you continue to do. Look at the millions or however many people that have been, deeply touched by you and your work. Those people would have never been able to receive that had you not in 1999 said, no, I'm going to meet the dude. Like, I'm gonna go, we're making this happen. Like, right, you didn't give up. And that's where most people fail, is they hear no, or it's not gonna happen, and then they give up and they just surrender to that experience. You didn't.
No. Stamina. Ken, I have I swear if I get a tattoo that doesn't say Lotus 97.7, I'm going to get one that says stamina, because
Yeah.
that is the word, the feeling, the emotion in every capacity. It takes
Yeah.
stamina to love. It takes stamina to hate. It takes stamina to be in war. It takes stamina to create anything. When you're sitting in the bubble of, oh, poor me,
Yeah.
that's the bubble you're going to live in. The minute that you can step out, like, okay, again, just, last seconds here, but I have a project in Cambodia. It started
Yeah.
in 2006. I have never experienced anything in my life outside of, real family, where the imprint, the smallest action that you can make is so significant that it can change, and it is such a ripple effect. We've got a little farm happening soon. We just did we built a chicken farm. I have my school in Romeus. We have the innovation house in Buangmiala. I built the first library in Angkor Wat, creating the opportunity for a whole entire, field of potential to open, only because I paid attention and I said, I don't need this. What if I do this? I didn't expect anything from anything out of it, nothing. And I still don't ever.
Right.
But if
Right.
I know that you are a better person, that you're a happier person, that I made a little tiny dent in your day by sharing something, I love you. Like, who am I not to be in a position to say, if I have that capability, or if we all do, why are we not using it? I mean, again, looking at the war, looking at the world, anyhow,
Yeah.
we have to stop being frivolous with our fear.
You're my sister.
Yes.
like I mean I think that I've been through some crazy stuff in life, and um I mean, look, I love what Grant Cardone says. He says, look, if you don't go out and share your story and really put in the effort to help others, you're being selfish.
Yes.
And how many selfish people do you know that are actually happy? They're not. They're miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patricia, you're amazing. Where can everybody follow you, learn more about you? Do you have a website? I should have asked you that up front. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so it's still up and operational. It's my name, patriciakarengagich.com. I have we're revamping and putting up our new website for Lotus 97.7. I didn't even get a chance to talk about this whole Authentify art process that I'm also involved in, which is related to NFTs.
Yeah, talk about that. We have time, unless you have to go.
No, I'm here. I'm good. So
Yeah.
yes, I was in Los Angeles for the LA NFT event. So we're creating non-fungible tokens by actually painting and then drumming with paint on the canvas to specific pieces of music, and then also videoing our process. So when you go back into the art world, one of the biggest problems that has existed is legitimacy, and how does one actually find out whether or not this painting was painted by Da Vinci or Rembrandt or whomever. And it's always going to be based on how do you prove and authentify it. So there is a company, Authentify Art, which has approached us, and we are going to be working with them. We will create the NFT, which will be put up on the blockchain. It will be dropped. The token itself will have a code created by Authentify, which is going to legitimize our work, so that 100 years from now, we will be able to prove that this was a painting that was painted,
Wow.
by us. But it's getting bigger and bigger, because now we have, musicians are collaborating. Snoop Dogg he owns $17 million plus worth of NFTs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you hang out with Snoop?
He is actually was supposed to be there. He did not.
Oh.
So that was unfortunate. But I have to say that Mark Cuban was one of the keynote speakers,
Wow.
and he brought up two actors. One of them was Charlie Sheen, who is also starting to come into the world of crypto and NFTs.
I saw the picture with you and Charlie.
Well, how that happened, of course, I took my little courage and I walked up to the front of the stage, and I think by being 5'1", I can get past any guards. So I kind of snuck through the back, and I wanted to hand my cards. I have these beautiful new metal cards. I wanted to hand them to Mark Cuban, and I never knew Charlie Sheen was there. So I had my card in my hand, and I did. I walked up to Mark, who was speaking with somebody, and I just said, I'd like to give you my card, and that was it. He walked away. He was engaged. As I'm standing there, I turn my head and I see Charlie Sheen standing by himself. And I went, whoa. So I quickly grabbed my bag. I opened it, took out another card, and I walked up to him. I introduced myself. I said I was an artist, and I said, I'd love to give you my card. And then Monica Kretschmer was with me. She's the founder of the Universal Women's Network in Calgary, in Canada. And so she walked up, and I quickly took my phone, and we took pictures together. And then she spoke with him, and I videoed her speaking to him. Wow. And then he was being yelled. They were calling for him to come on, come on. And he didn't want to leave. He was like, we were just having a great conversation. And that was it. So that was a real perk. Like, I was super excited. Yeah.
I feel like I need to learn about NFTs because I don't know anything about them. Nothing. I know nothing about all of this new digital currency world. Nothing. I need to learn.
We both do.
Yeah. Well, you're a little bit further down the hole than I am, for sure.
Yeah, it's a learning process, 100%.
Yeah. Wow. You're absolutely amazing. And I love you said that you're drumming on the canvas as you paint.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool.
It's actually another part of what will happen in my the Wisdom of Karma experience, because using wire brushes, using the sticks to a specific piece of music, that after we've painted backgrounds, layers and layers, and then when you, like, for example, we put a song called The Truth Shall Always Be. One of our key goals right now is to create the series of paintings to honor some of the drumming icons. And Neil Peart, who was the drummer for Rush,
I love.
Yeah. So he went to the same music teacher as my collaborator, as Greg. Yay! Here too. So what happened was he said they had the same drum teacher, Glenn Grotto, who just recently passed away. Wow. So there was an opportunity for Greg to meet Neil, and so we've done this painting where we have him etherically sitting behind a kit, and we've been creating drum kits on these canvases, very specific to the actual drummer.
Wow.
And then finding their music, and then finding the piece that we feel is most auspicious, and then we drum to it, and then we're being videoed as we're drumming, so that it's really cool when you look at, like, we did John Bonham, and of course Bonham rolls are everyone. So we've got this Bonham kit with Bonham in the background, and then we did it to Stairway to Heaven, which was obvious, one of the greatest songs. And and if you're looking at the painting and you can see where all of the the notes are, I look at it and I think I can hear the music. I can
that is so flipping cool. And Neil Peart is, like, literally, in my opinion, this is my opinion, the best drummer ever of all time. That's just, he's unbelievable. First concert I ever saw, by the way, in 1984 was Rush.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What I think that's really been a shock for me is that all of the people that have been coming in and out of my life are somehow related to drumming. So another person who I was, yes, for sure, he's was Franklin Vanderbilt. So he's Lenny Kravitz's drummer, has been for a number of years. And I met him, and of course that's this, once you've got drumming inside of you, everything changes. Like your whole thinking process changes. You feel things differently. You do things differently. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I don't know where
Wow.
this is going to go. I don't think I'm ever going to be in a rock band, although I was invited.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I think I love the just I don't how do you even say it? Like I just love the thought of drumming and painting, drumming on the actual canvas that you're painting. It's just like I can't even. Do you have an example of what it looks like?
Yes. Give me a second.
I got to see this. We're gonna go full screen so we can see it too. This woman is absolutely amazing. I hope you guys have enjoyed this interview because Patricia is just look, I'm gonna go full screen. Look at that. The painting is just incredible, incredible work she does. And I love the studio. Oh, here we go.
Okay, so I did find.
Oh my Lord, have mercy.
So this is our. We call this painting Bonzo.
Wow.
Is based on on the work of John Bonham.
Wow.
So we carefully decided like what his kit should look like, and then we have drummed on it. You can see what's really funny though, and I think this is the best ever, is that during some portion of our playing, Greg, my partner Greg, actually split the canvas, and we have a hole because of hitting the canvas so hard with the drums. But this
I was actually wondering, okay, how are you not splitting the canvas? I was thinking that, like, how are you not splitting the canvas by drumming on it?
Yes, so that did happen. So we more mindful to be a little careful, like more careful, but we're not going to fix them because they form part of the painting. So
a story.
Yes,
it's a story.
Yeah.
Amazing. Patricia, you rock. You're awesome.
Thanks.
I'm so grateful you came on and shared today. Is there anything else that you would like to leave the audience with today? Like, I look, I think everybody's carrying the old saying is everybody's carrying their own cross. So we're all walking around in this world bearing pain, challenges, whatever. What kind of wisdom would you leave everybody with today?
Okay, so Ralph Waldo Emerson says, without a rich heart, wealth is an ugly beggar. Without a rich heart. So wealth, yes. So without a rich heart, wealth is an ugly beggar. That hit me a long time ago, and it's a good reminder of always remembering what and who you are and why you are who you are, and that your rich heart is worth a lot more than money.
Amazing. And is your art for sale?
Yes, and anyone who wants to buy it for millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yes, so the art is for sale. I'm represented by FACEC in France, also 13th Street Gallery here in St. Catharines. There are going to be some potential things happening again in New York. COVID really knocked galleries and the art world a little bit flat, but that's going to revive. So yeah, and I'm always, people can find me. I haven't been really vociferous on Instagram or Twitter, but that's going to change. But I'm also, eventually I will be posting up on my site links to different places for people
to be able to purchase.
Yeah. And the NFT thing will be dropped, and that will go for Identify Art. So we will have, there'll be more exposure. I'm learning to get out of the cave.
I absolutely love it. Look, everybody is dropping that. So, Patricia, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful that you came on and spent time with me and the audience and shared your beauty and your wisdom, and you're amazing.
Thank you, Ken, for the opportunity. And I love you. I'm
I
super
love
your
you too.
sister. And I'm happy to see Alan and Dennis and everybody that was on. I
Oh,
haven't seen anything in the columns or whatever, but I'm really appreciative that people took the time to share in the conversation with us.
yeah,
Yes.
this has been great. So, everybody that's watched, thank you so much. Patricia, stay with me. I'm going to end the live stream now, but thank you to everybody who's watched and shared this out. And y- y- this has been an amazing hour and 15 minutes. So, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
You too.